Hey, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time all around. Welcome. I'm Carrieblogger, a career freelancer on Fiverr.com, where I've been selling as a Fiverr Pro verified copywriter for about the past 7 years. And in today's chatty, unedited One Take Tuesday video, I'm going to be talking about my strategy for writing an about page for copywriting clients of mine. And website content is one of my favorite things to write, especially recently. It's just been the most rewarding with really getting to know brands on a more deeper level, and I don't know, it feels a little bit more rewarding to get to work on a large scale project like that and really get to see it in action and come through. And so inside of the sphere of website copywriting, one of my favorite pages is for about pages. And I received a question on a previous video a couple weeks ago. Someone was asking specifically for tips for writing an about page. And I have been mulling it over, and I realized I think the best thing to do is just to go through the questionnaire that I ask my clients and kind of talk about the reasons of why I asked for that information, and then kind of my rationale of how I turn those facts into an actual cohesive story on the page. So I feel like I'm talking weird. I have drank so much coffee today. I was just writing a website an hour ago for a coffee company, and I'm just going to shout them out really quick. They're called Simplify Healthy Living, and they have Kaffa coffee from Ethiopia, which is the birthplace of all Arabica coffee beans. And I have never tried single origin Ethiopian coffee from there before. And so they sent me a couple bags, and I made some so I could really get tasting notes and stuff. And oh my gosh, I am so hyped. I drank way too much coffee, so this one take video was going to be a little bit hyper. Hopefully not. I'm trying to keep things cool. So we have, I should have a 10-minute timer on the clock so that I don't chat for too long. So let's put it for 8 minutes, because we'll assume that's how long I've been talking, which I don't even know how to look at that, but that's fine. Okay, 8 minutes. Here we go. So when I write an about page, I always have a questionnaire for my clients. I just find that it's the easiest, not only to give them prompts, which gives them a better idea of what I need and what they should be considering for their page, but also, as I've mentioned in other videos, I don't like to talk on the phone or do in-person interviews. I just find that people tend to ramble. They don't often synthesize their ideas very cohesively, and often it doesn't really get the heart of what they want to say. And also, more importantly, it's just so important to me that I have a written, clear, will not change, won't be forgotten transcript of what they want to have included. And so for me, a written questionnaire is the most important. And because this is unedited, I'm not going to put all these on the screen, so feel free to take notes or whatever. But this is a questionnaire that I use and kind of how I frame my process. So for an about page, the first set of questions is the same regardless of any page. It just gets to the heart of the brand as a whole. So I always start with, what is the brand name? And if there is a specific abbreviation, I need to know that as well. I always ask for the slogan, which many companies don't have a specific slogan or tagline, and that's fine. I'll just come up with catchy headers that I think are appropriate. But knowing that is really usually a strong framing point for the main header. It's just kind of a good front to the brand to know that. I often ask, what is your purpose or mission? And this is super vague, but what it does is I try to get clients to tell me just right off the bat, their elevator pitch kind of. So in terms of the purpose, that conveys what they want to do with a brand, or the mission is more kind of focused on what they're actually doing and what they primarily focus on in their service area. And these questions are a little vague because it allows people to go down those different paths of how they choose to answer it, and then how they choose to answer it tells me information, which is kind of hard to explain. But if someone really goes into this heartfelt, I want to change the world and my purpose is to do this thing that's so meaningful to me, that's going to inform the way that I write it, versus if someone says, our mission is to sell the most affordable e-commerce product at the highest quality. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but right, that kind of answer will indicate how I choose to write the content accordingly. What are your main services or products? Lay that out for me. And again, kind of the order in which people tell me that information, that is a clue to me on what's truly most important, especially if they have a diverse offering. who is your target audience? Not everyone knows this or has a super clear answer, but that again tells me information about how I'm going to write it, kind of the angle of like where the entry point is with consumers, what's going to resonate most with them, and then of course kind of the kind of language and style that they want to convey. What are your points of differentiation? How does this brand stand out against competitors? What are people going to see, realize is special, resonate with, and then choose to convert? Like, where is the brand standing out? And it's more so like where the company thinks they're standing out, even more so than like hardcore research. Like, very rarely does someone say, we did market research and we found that we are 10% lower in price at this certain. It's usually just like where they feel it is, and that's where I tend to let the brand content go. Then we move on to the actual about page question chunk. And so I start with, when were you founded? I don't always include that in every about page. It just depends on the story. About pages can tend to be kind of like template-y and cliche. Usually, this brand was founded in 1989 by so-and-so who went to school here and they have this experience, so they offer this. And I don't think that it needs to be that rigid. So this is just background information for me. Even if I don't include the actual year or, like has 2 decades of experience or is a new startup or whatever, like that can come through just in kind of discussing qualifications and like how much experience they bring to the industry. Are they leaders? Are they innovators? Have they been here for a long time? All of that is wrapped up in that one little number. I ask if they're brick and mortar or only online, because that's going to influence a lot, and that's just a core basic fact. Then I ask who founded and what is their experience, and that is super vague, minimal question. And so sometimes people go all in. They gave me huge bios about themselves. They want them like to be a main pillar behind the brand, and other times they don't really want to include that and they'll be much more vague. So that is up to them, and that will drastically change how I write the about page. If it's more about the brand as a whole, if it's really about the story of coming to the brand, and how that like shaped the origin story, that kind of stuff. I like to ask about the purpose and passion behind the brand. Again, if it's going to be a really emotion-driven story, if it's going to be more clear, cold, kind of, fact-driven, this tells me a lot of information about how the company wants themselves to be perceived. And again, it's what they find is most important, not just like true facts of we sell this and we've been here for this long and this is our audience. This like square shape is how I always see it. But it's something deeper in like the background of how they see themselves. I don't know. I ask about favorite things about the brand and what their commitments are, if they really hold true to something in particular. I feel like that's kind of what the about page can really share as a story. Not just what they see on the surface, not just what they're listing or offering to customers, but really where they see themselves, how they fit the market, how they serve their customers, and the commitment that they find most important. Again, like the heart of the brand is what the about page is supposed to be for. And then goals and dreams for how the brand will evolve, because lots of brands are approaching me at a time, usually at a startup or like repurposing their brand. And so how they see themselves moving forward is so important for the story. And I think that also can connect a lot with the origin. So kind of the transcendence of where the brand's going to go and how that lines up with their purpose, mission, and commitments. And then the other set of questions I'm just going to run through really fast are just kind of background for ideally the contact page. But again, this gives me information about the about page if they are, for example, a brand that is really, really customer centric and wants the support aspect to be really important. So I also always ask, do you have a customer service team? How long on average will responses take? When are you available? If you have office hours. What are your FAQ? Really important, because I get to see kind of the question points, misunderstandings that I should be able to clarify and add context to. What is their contact information? And then what kind of vibe do you want to convey? And not everyone answers that last question, but that's really important. If they know that they love this competitor's voice or they hate how sterile these other people are, if they really know that they want to be witty, they want to be emotional, they want something there, that gives me a lot of information. And it also like allows me to feel a little more confident in like creating that tone of voice for them. But the about page does not have to be sterile. It does not have to be fact driven. You'll see with those questions, I really try to get at the story and the heart behind the brand. And I feel like that's the most important thing for me, because the about page is such a great opportunity to really connect with customers and like engage in a completely new way. All right, that's my time. I think that was 10-ish minutes. So see ya.